Your views on the post office while we got you here? Because I mean, it was
Yeah.
such a bolt out of the blue. It just got a Twitter in the evening sort of thing from them. We weren't, the press wasn't geared up. There was not that we should be alone, but it seemed to be not well handled as far as the way the announcement came out.
No, I think there's two issues there, really. I think, first of all, we have to recognise that the extremely difficult position that the post office is getting into. As a commercial arm of government, I keep it at arm's length. I've not been involved with that side of it. But I am aware that the post office has lost a number of major customers lately. The most important one, which I think was made public, was when we lost the Reader's Digest.
Well, I mean, that was a massive bulk.
That was over.
Mailing list,
it was huge, and the post office got over £1 million a year from that. Of course, that went into receivership, and that business vanished. They've lost, I think, several other major customers since then, and their profits have plummeted over this last year. To the point where they are shortly going to have to dip into reserves to stay.
But you still want £2 million out of them every year.
Well, that's a relationship between Treasury and the Post Office, and it may well be we have to revise that if things continue the way they are. But given the fact that with the internet and private parcel deliveries and things, the position of the Post Office is becoming more and more unstable financially. That is one thing, and we need to recognise that, because that's not going to go away. It's happening in the UK. It's not just local in the IoM. But I do have to say, and I have had very strong words with the management of the Post Office, that I think the way they've handled the publicity on this has been appalling, frankly. We have a much-loved facility in Ramsey and in Douglas. It is only right that the public have it fully explained to them exactly what the implications are. It appears that the story appeared to come out at least in a drip feed sort of way, whereas initially it was being announced that the two post offices were closing, that yes, these existing buildings are closing, but they're actually only being relocated to another building 100 yards up the road.
And some news organisations have actually put that out, that they were closing, because they hadn't been. I mean, this is the modern way of, we normally now have this way of softening things up to some degree before the announcement, but there was nothing at all. It literally just broke.
You're absolutely right. Had all the details laid out at the very outset to say, yes, it's closing the existing building, but it's only being moved to another location, that all those jobs are going to be made available and offered to the existing staff. And we have superb staff working in the post office, highly professional, been there for many, many years. We owe it to them. But that wasn't the impression given the initial news stories that went out. It's not surprising that people are upset, and in particular the staff alarmed about their own position. They now have walk-through videos which are on display and on YouTube as well, I think, which gives a much clearer picture as to what the new arrangements are going to be like. All that should have been available on day one, so that the whole story in the round and in that broader detail could be made available to the public. And that might have reassured people more than clearly has happened at the moment.
Why do we keep having this all the time? You're constantly, week after week, in front of me, telling me we could have done better, or you could have done better, should I say?
Yes, and there's no doubt at all, notwithstanding the fact that the post office are in an extremely difficult position, and we have an absolute commitment to maintain that core post office business. We have got to sharpen up, and it's a message you rightly say I raise week after week after week, not just in interviews with yourself, but within the council ministers, across government. We've got to recognise we are there to serve the public. And every decision we make, we've got to bear that in mind, and we've got to ensure that the public are fully informed as to why these steps are being taken. A lot of the negative reaction we get to some of these decisions could be neutralised by a clearer explanation of what's happening, the reasons behind it, and what the implications might be.
And use Chris Robert Shaw's expression, silo mentality still? Is this what's going on?
There's silo mentality. It's something I have striven to try and break down ever since I've been Chief Minister. I don't have a magic wand, though. I can't force departments to do it. We are working to achieve that. In some areas, we are being successful, and it is starting to change. In other areas, though, we still have a very long way to go. And in particular, departments need to sharpen up their understanding of PR and the need to explain to public what we're doing in all our areas of government. And we are trying to do that. We are trying to give them proper training in PR to get them to identify what is important, how to explain to the public. there's often a danger in those silos that officers are living with the issue for so long that they forget there is another party to this particular deal, and that is the public. And so they often forget that they have a duty to explain to the public what is actually going on.
And of course, this one of all things, it's Ramsey, it's your area, your patch. Hundreds of people went to this meeting, the commissioners.
Yes.
You must have had a few people on to you as well about it.
I've had a few. I've also had a few, I have to say, understanding what the situation is.
Well, I think you said there, because it isn't as bad possibly as the headline read,
no.
Life will go on, but obviously the staff, for them, there will be some massive changes.
Yes, and if you look at Ramsey, I mean, I fully understand how people are concerned. The post office is, certainly in its present building, it's an iconic building, it's central, it is right at the heart of the regeneration work that we've done in Ramsey. We did a consultation a few years ago with the people to identify at the start of the regeneration work where the heart of Ramsey was, and the overwhelming response came back that it was the courthouse. That was the one that they believed was the central...
Which has been a big success, hasn't it? I mean, it seems to have really changed the dynamics of
It's
Ramsey.
absolutely transformed Ramsey. The regeneration work has worked much better than I anticipated, and the area around the post office, which was the old courthouse, is the most attractive part of Ramsey. It's brought a lot of extra business in. There are new shops opening. Ramsey is a different place altogether in the last year or so since the work is finished. And we've got to maintain that. The important thing now is, whilst I'm extremely disappointed that this has had to happen, we have to make the best of it. And the post office have assured me that, and I've spoken to the man in retail as well, both have assured me that they will, it's business as usual once the work is done. There will be the same number of tills in the post office, both post offices. They will be ripping out the existing layout of both shops, and particularly the one in Ramsey, where there's a considerable amount of extra room at the back. So the actual space won't be that much less than they have at the moment. The services which we are providing will be exactly the same services in the new facility as the old. And we'll be doing our very best to ensure that the staff have continuity of employment at the same time.
Finally, you obviously don't get involved in everything. Did you know anything about this one before it hit?
It's been spoken about for years that the financial pressures on the post office were building up.
But it's the first you knew about it was when we knew about this?
In the past I've resisted. I have strongly opposed the closure of the two offices. But I recognise now with the deterioration in the finances of the post office, these two facilities lose, I think, somewhere in the region of £500,000 a year, the post office say. We can't afford to carry that any longer. So in that sense, it has been building up. Council was made aware of it a couple of weeks ago. I had to say I hadn't realised that they were going to make the announcement as quickly as they did. I think they could have spent a bit more time explaining to staff, to the public, what is going on. If they'd got their PR strategy, their public explanation strategy right on day one, I think a lot of the fears which have been stoked up now would have been avoided. But we are where we are. It's unfortunate. As I say, it is a continuation of the concern I have right across government about their lack of awareness of the need to inform the public of what's going on. But we now have to try and learn from that and move on. But the bottom line is we have got to guarantee the public the quality of the service will not be diminished. We will still be employing high quality staff there. The services will be exactly the same. And the other thing I think that we do need to do is to ensure that whatever future the two existing buildings have, that they are appropriate to the town centre. Douglas in Regent Street, the Douglas Post Office is one of the landmark buildings. We've got to make sure that is not just closed and left to deteriorate. And likewise, and more so perhaps in Ramsey, where the post office building is such a landmark building, it is vitally important that any new usage that it has is appropriate to the area and will enhance the reputation of Ramsey. Again, not just left to deteriorate, which might otherwise be the case.